I'm trying to, in an attempt to fix the volume, I'm using my tablet, so the video quality might not be that great. But for the Big Five test that we took, I scored 67% conscientiousness and 51% extroversion and 46% agreeableness, with low scores in openness and neuroticism. For conscientiousness, it's described as organized, reliable, self controlled, orderly, cautious, disciplined, and a strong sense of duty. Um, and I was very high in that. For extroversion, of course, extroverted, outgoing, enthusiastic, action oriented, excitable, and social. And then for what was the other one? Agreeableness. I it's described as considerate, altruistic, friendly, generous, sympathetic, modest, trusting, and helpful. I agree with these results, especially scoring low in neuroticism, like anxious and fearful and self-conscious. Anger or depression is doesn't really describe me, um, and I'm surprised about the agreeableness part. But and openness doesn't really describe me either. Imaginative, seeking adventure, thinks in symbols and abstractions. I'm a really straightforward kind of person. The organized and reliable sounds more like me. I like to plan everything from start to finish. I know what I'm gonna do tomorrow, all day. Actually, I know what I'm doing for the rest of this weekend by time. um, so that's more so my personality. So this test is very effective. I can see in like trying to decide what kind of personality type someone has. Um, the bullets under personality is likely to have higher lifetime earnings than the average of your country, likely to live to a greater age than average life expectancy, more likely to work as a volunteer for a national political party, more likely than the general population to take positive view of immigration to your country, and more likely to be satisfied with your preferred political candidate's performance while in office. Um, a lot of the comments, well, not comments, a lot of the analysis under the Big Five test was political. Mine also says not very interested in politics, or what it says. It says likely to have less of an interest in politics than the general population, which I think is true. Um, I'm more worried about the life that I'm living right now instead of looking at the whole picture as far as politics go. Not really into politics. Based on my personality scores, I was statistically more likely to be male than female, which I think is strange. But I think it's the way my dad raised us. As he had all girls, he had four girls, and not one single boy. But he raised us on his own as a single father, and he treated us like his sons. Like I played every sport throughout, elementary, middle school, and high school, and even went to college to play a sport. He was my coach and my father. He was strict on us. Um, we didn't I we didn't have the kind of motivational upbringing as like more encouraging parents. We more so had like, if you get into a fight, just don't lose. If if someone hurts your feelings, you cry about it when you get home. You don't cry in front of other people. It was seen as a sign of weakness. We were kind of raised to have tough skin, so it would make sense that my personality would be more likely to be male than female. I didn't learn the sensitive, delicate side of things, which is why I was surprised about the agreeableness. Like, just being nice and kind, and yes, those are things that I strive for, but not things that I'm great at. Generous and sympathetic is not really. I like to think I'm helpful, um, but other than that, the other ones are don't really describe me that well. But it was my I was average in that score, so it was my middle score. Conscientious, the one I scored highest in, sounds most like me, so I would say that I agree with these results and what they reflect. Now, for the second test, the Dark Triad test, if you've noticed, it gives you a little notice or agreement picture before you take this test, or some of the other tests we took, and they're looked at as being negative. I want to start off by saying that all these traits may seem negative, but they all play a role in your personality and success in life. So there are beneficial aspects to these traits. I'm not defending my scores in any way because they were actually pretty low, but I do have some analogies to what I think of with these traits. Like in narcissism, I scored 10%, which is lower than the average person. But people that demonstrate narcissism don't have problems with self esteem or confidence because they think highly of themselves. And I'm not saying be so overly obsessed with yourself that you care little for others, but it is important to value yourself more than other things in your life. You know, you should value your health over your work or any other thing that may stress you out to the point where you're not taking yourself into consideration. Having a positive self image is not a bad thing in moderation. Narcissism is just a little excessive, but having a positive view of yourself and who you are, having value for yourself is very important in a personality, in any person, really. Machiavellianism is characterized by a cynical disregard for morality and a focus on self-interest and personal gain. People who demonstrate this tend to be pretty successful in life. The world we live in today, it's nearly impossible to get to the top without stepping on a few toes. When I picture this, I think of Christina Yang. If you've ever seen Grey's Anatomy, you know who I'm talking about. You can assume that she would score really high in this area because she doesn't care who she hurts to get where she wants to be. The competitive nature of the high-end jobs today make it almost impossible. It creates an environment that every man is for himself. And even our current president has done his fair share in this aspect to get where he is now. So I think it's an important part of how successful you are in your future, especially in the healthcare area of things, because it is highly competitive. In psychopathy, I scored really low. I'm kind of glad I'm not a psychopath, or less of a psychopath as the average person. When people think of psychopath, they think of, you know, a serial killer or a mass murderer, but it really, in reality, many people have psychopathic tendencies. Applying this to my field, there is a certain benefit to the lack of guilt or remorse, just because as a healthcare provider, you can feel guilty or responsible for other people's misfortune, and it can be easy to blame yourself for the outcome of their life. You know, their life is in your hands and you're responsible, but if you put every death on yourself, then you would have a problem. So I think that less guilt is a positive thing, but psychopaths aren't positive. I think it's a negative stigma attached to that. So those are my results for the Dark Triad, and I took a different view on it, as you can see. But I hope you guys enjoy my video, and I hope the volume works this time.